following video contains scenes of violence. Viewer discretion is advised. Where is the outrage for the Colorado school shooting? The same day that Charlie Kirk lost his life, there is no outcry for the beheaded hotel manager who was unalived by way of a machete knife, or a Florida woman who begged police for help, a domestic violence victim left to fend for herself.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome once again to my channel, Stop Effing Killing. I'm your host, the MOD, also known as the Method of Delivery. Please like, share, and subscribe if you find anything that resonates with you. So today we are going to talk about outrage. Again, we're going to talk about outrage. As most of the world knows by now, Charlie Kirk was assassinated last week. Now, this wasn't a random act. This was somebody that planned a target attack. And the president is outraged. There are, social media, posts all over the place. All the news stations are carrying, this story about Charlie Kirk. And people have literally been fired because they have expressed their opinions on Charlie Kirk. So the outrage it runs deep in this country for many. Now, there are some who feel differently about Charlie Kirk, and they have denounced what he stood for. Regardless, Charlie Kirk is no longer with us. Okay, he was assassinated. However, there were a lot of other things that happened in this country, one of which happened on the very day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And there is no outrage about it. So let's talk about a few of these things. First, has anybody ever heard of Evergreen High School in Colorado? Well, let's take a look at what happened at this school.
As first responders rushed to the high school on Wednesday, the full-time school resource officer assigned to that school was not at work. Mark Salinger has learned that the Evergreen High School did not have a full-time SRO, not for a little bit, Mark, for nearly an entire year.
Yeah, Jenny, the full-time school resource officer assigned to Evergreen High School went on medical leave 11 months ago. For those 11 months, the school of around 900 students only had a part-time SRO, splitting their time between several schools in Jefferson County. At the time of the shooting on Wednesday, there was no officer stationed at Evergreen High School. Jeffco Public Schools sent us a statement today saying they've increased their investment in the SRO program this year, and the SRO program is a point of pride for the district. Now, when we asked the district why the school hasn't had a full-time SRO for 11 months, the district stopped responding to us and didn't answer any more questions. While deputies say they responded to the school within minutes of the first 911 calls, Sheriff's Office says the shooter had time to reload his revolver multiple times and fired many shots inside and outside of the school. The night before the shooting, the Evergreen High School PTA had a meeting at the school where the lack of an SRO was discussed. Minutes from that meeting posted online show the school principal told parents the district had deprioritized SROs from mountain schools because they were considered safer. The district.
Where is the outrage in this? When are we going to stop pretending that we love and care about and want to protect our children? You have several states with bans on abortion, and they're forcing people to have these children, yet we don't have coverage at many of these schools to protect these children when things like this happen. And there's no massive outrage over this. We have so many school shootings and mass shootings in this country that it somehow has become baked into our culture. Like, oh, okay, well, we'll give it thoughts and prayers, and we'll until the next one, our hearts go out to the families and all this other crap. You literally had a politician, Marjorie Taylor Greene, literally making fun of a survivor of a school shooting. Literally. This is on video, right? And there's no outrage in these school shootings. There are no, flags flown to half staffs, no presidential, Medal of Freedom awarded and rides on Air Force Two and all this other stuff. There's none of that. There's just thoughts and prayers. Our hearts go out, and we'll wait for the next one, and then we'll repeat the process over and over again. Even in some instances, as law enforcement is literally on the scene and stands by as kids and teachers and staff getting mowed down. But there is no true outrage because those politicians, they still have their jobs. Those law enforcement officers that stood by, they still have their jobs. Meanwhile, the graveyards are being littered with the bodies of innocent children. I mean, children literally can't go to school and pray. I mean, it is so tragic. And yet there is no true ground-swelling outrage. And as we all know by now, gun violence is the #1 leading killer of children in this country. What about Mary Jingles? So, Mary Jingles was unalived by her estranged ex-husband. But not only did this individual unalive her, he unalived her father and a neighbor.
In court records NBC6 investigates found she'd been warning for a year that she lives in constant fear of her husband. He was going to shoot me and there's nothing I could do about it, she quoted him saying. He even started singing a song about how he was going to kill me. Because of Nathan's psychotic behavior, his multiple threats, his drug use, she said he used Adderall, his multiple many silenced firearms, and my impending divorce actions, I am afraid Nathan will kill me and my daughter. He's now charged with doing the first part of that.
Now, Mary Jingles, she pled and begged for help from law enforcement. This went on for over a year, calling 911, filing restraining orders, reports, all types of stuff. And law enforcement utterly failed this woman and her family. Due to their failures, 8 deputies were fired, 11 others were disciplined, with days off, suspensions. So what did those restraining orders do? They did absolutely nothing. What did the law enforcement community do in this instance? They did nothing. They apprehended the suspect after the fact, after he's taken 3 people's lives, after he's terrorized this lady for, multiple months, at least a year. They did nothing. But yet, there is no outrage. And this is Florida, the Sunshine State. There is no outrage about that. There are no flags being flown in half-staff. This man literally should not have even had a firearm due to the red flag laws of the state. He was a clear danger to this woman and her family. He allegedly planted a tracking device on her car. She had video of him entering her house, placing a bag that had items in it that people would use to harm and or kidnap people with. And she took all of this stuff to the law enforcement, to the police community. And what did they do? They did nothing. And that's why those 8 officers were fired. But their firings or these other officers' suspensions, that's not going to bring this family back. That's not going to bring her back. That's not going to bring her father back. That's not going to bring the neighbor back. It is an abject failure, which is why, once again, and I've said in prior video, that we are responsible for our own protection. We cannot rely on law enforcement and those restraining orders, many of them, even though they are enhanced penalties if you arrest the suspect, they're literally not worth the paper that they're printed on. You're better off spending time getting a firearm of some type and getting some type of training with it, investing in training and tactics, than to go to court to get these restraining orders and relying on law enforcement in situations like this when they don't do their job. And finally, we come to Chandra Magamalia. Now, I may have mispronounced his name wrong, but this happened in Texas.
About a savage attack at a Dallas motel today. You've probably seen it, heard about it. We want to warn you, though, some of what you're about to learn and hear is very graphic. Tonight, one man is facing a capital murder charge after witnesses say another man was beheaded with a machete. Our Marvin Hurst hearing from witnesses tonight.
Suspect has a machete, and Fire is noticing that he is actually cutting someone's head off.
3422 Samuel Boulevard went from peaceful to shocking. Dallas emergency responders received the call around 9:30 Wednesday morning. A beheading at a motel.
And Mr. Chandra was unalived by a Cuban national who was here in this country illegally. Now, I'm not going to say the defendant's name. However, he allegedly had already had a criminal history: child sexual abuse, grand theft, false imprisonment, carjacking. By all definitions, a violent illegal immigrant in this country. Where was ICE? Why didn't they deport this individual? If not back to Cuba, why didn't they deport him to some foreign land where he didn't know the language? Instead, he's here. ICE is rounding up fruit pickers, farm laborers, meat packing plant workers, people that are help building infrastructure, the roads, the bridges, the buildings. They're rounding up these immigrants who are literally here, intimately integrated into our society. They're rounding them up and deporting them. But this violent individual right here was allowed to roam free in the country. And now, because of that, Mr. Chandra is no longer with us. And this is Texas we're talking about. So where was the good guy with the gun? Because this man was attacked with a machete. He was ran down, chased all over the hotel complex, and ran down and fatally assaulted with a machete. Where was the good guy with the gun? Where was he or she? Where were they? Where was law enforcement? Nobody knows. They got there after the fact. And so I'm saying this, and I'm bringing these stories up to say that if we are going to be outraged, right? If we're going to be angry as U.S. citizens or even as world citizens, we need to be angry about not when someone who is famous or infamous loses their life, or someone that we know, or someone that we like, or that we resonate with. We don't need to be angry just when they lose their lives. We need to be angry when people that we don't know lose their lives. When countries like Palestine are being, victimized by the genocidal intentions of Israel, not allowing people to eat. When Russia is attacking Ukraine mercilessly in a war that they started several years ago. We need to be outraged when, Israel, bombs Qatar and without provocation. We need to be outraged collectively and forcefully when an injustice happens anywhere, when someone gets unalived anywhere for the sake of gratuitous violence. Instead of saving our outrage when the rich, the famous, the powerful, the well-connected, when they die, when they perish, when they pass away, when they get unalived. Because in the end, we're all human beings. And we all have to work together to stop the effing killing. My heart goes out to anyone who has lost their lives due to senseless, gratuitous violence. And if we're going to have outrage in this country or anywhere else, it needs to be righteous indignation, not just reserved for those that we like, we know, or we care about. Thank you and have a safe day. And just remember, there is no you, there is no me in this fight. There is only we, and we must, with our collective righteous outrage, stop the fucking killing. Thank you and have a safe day.